kudos to Joe. His brain didn't malfunction that much. There was no epic fail this time. He did say SARS instead of coronavirus about 4 times. He did confuse Ebola with the coronavirus. In fairness, Bernie Sanders said Ebola instead of corona by accident. Well, ironically, none of these corporate journalists dare ever tweet out when Joe Biden gaffes. When Bernie Sanders mistakenly said Ebola instead of the coronavirus, they all immediately pounced on it on Twitter. Interesting double standard there. They never ever will point out that Joe Biden is forgetting President Obama's name, is forgetting what day it is forgetting where he is forgetting whole sections of the Declaration of Independence. You know, when he said, the thing, is telling his voters to vote on Super Thursday, is confusing his wife and sister. I mean, I could go on. They will never, ever bring this up. But Bernie Sanders makes one error, they're all over it on Twitter, which I pointed out. What's unbelievable, Joe Biden lied that he never called for cutting Social Security on the debate stage. He lied about, I wasn't in support of the bankruptcy bill. He literally helped write the bankruptcy bill. He lied about the Iraq war. He says, when challenged about fracking, he literally says, and I quote, "So am I. So am I." Talking about he's against fracking. What? I think I liked the Joe Biden before a little bit better, who was just totally for these regressive policies and stood by them. Now he's moonwalking and lying about not being for these policies. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Joe Biden in September of last year said, I am not for banning fracking. I am not for banning fracking. On the debate stage tonight, so am I. I'm for a ban on fracking. I mean, okay, we're going with the list. He lied about his record on calling for Social Security cuts. He lied about writing the bankruptcy bill. He lied about his vote on the Iraq war. He lied about banning or being for a ban on fracking. He lied about supporting and voting for the Hyde Amendment many, many times. And of course, because we don't actually have real journalists in this country, we have public relations professionals, essentially super PACs in CNN, that stood there and let him lie like that. And you want to know something? Honestly, I'm just going to be honest. For the first half hour of this debate, Bernie Sanders was either asleep at the switch, or I don't know what Bernie Sanders was doing for the first half hour of the debate. He barely went at Joe Biden. Possibly his campaign had a strategy on the particular topic of the coronavirus to not go directly at Biden, because it could be viewed as trying to politicize the crisis. If that's the case, then you got bad advice, because coronavirus was the exact thing he should have went after Joe Biden for. Not saying that Joe Biden caused it, but pointing out that the very deficiencies, the very disasters that are being revealed in this crisis, in this pandemic, the very holes in our system, the very evil, immoral deficiencies of our system, the very for-profit evil of our system that is being revealed because of the coronavirus. The fact that we don't have paid sick leave as a country. The fact that you literally could still be evicted. You could be evicted during this crisis. The fact that homeless people, who are very much at risk of both contracting the virus and giving it off, where are they going to go? That was the opportunity, the first half hour where the most eyeballs were probably watching, to go at Joe Biden, to say, if you were President Joe, maybe it would be a little bit better than the disaster of Trump, of the way Trump is handling this, but the same problems would exist. The same people would be that are feeling symptoms might not go to the doctor because they don't want to pay their massive deductible to get treatment, on which they would still have under Biden care, or whatever you want to call it. The same exact people who, you want to say the test is going to be free? Well, is the treatment going to be free? Okay, you could provide free tests, but what if somebody gets coronavirus and needs to be hospitalized, needs IVs, needs medication, observation, treatment, is going to be in the hospital for 3-4 days? Is Joe Biden's presidency going to pay for that? I was not convinced that Joe Biden would. And where I think that Bernie, and I'm just being honest with you. I know a lot of you don't like when I criticize Bernie, but I'm just going to keep it real. I also think he did a lot better towards the middle of the debate, which I'm going to get into. What I think that what Bernie Sanders did not get across, he kind of vaguely said it, but I don't think he said it with the gusto that it should have been said. Joe Biden was literally saying, we're in a national emergency. This is a national emergency. So as such, there's going to be no co-pays. Everything will be covered. That's when Bernie Sanders should have turned to him and say, hey, Joe, you don't think people rationing insulin is a national emergency? You don't think over 100,000 people dying because they can't afford health care is a national emergency? You don't think tens of millions of people being underinsured, where they literally have health insurance, but they cannot use it because they can't afford the co-pays, deductibles, and premiums? You don't think that's a national emergency? Why is it that you are willing to just, hey, we're waiving all the fees, everything's going to be paid for from the government because we're in an emergency now? Yes, we're an emergency. Coronavirus is an emergency. You know what else is an emergency? People having to ration insulin, people having to ration antidepressants, people having to ration anxiety pills, people having to ration other life-saving pills, both physically and mental health medication. We are in an emergency. We've been in an emergency for 30 years in this country. And I think Bernie Sanders missed a very, very good opportunity to go at Joe Biden and just say, why is the coronavirus an emergency? Yes, I agree. While the coronavirus is an emergency, why are the daily life Americans are dealing with right now? Why is it that in the states you're winning, Joe Biden, Medicare for all has popular support, but you refuse to support it? Does it have anything to do with all the fundraisers you're doing with healthcare executives? So I think Bernie missed a big opportunity in the first half hour of the debate. I think as it moved on, Bernie Sanders, I think I personally would have went even harsher at him and more aggressively. But I think the fact that Bernie Sanders paused 3 times and said, and just put the onus on Joe Biden and said, wait a minute, I just want to get this on the record. You're saying you did not, on the Senate floor, call for Social Security cuts? Listen, first of all, I said in my live stream earlier, I think the primary should be postponed in all of these states Tuesday. I think even though right now it's Sunday, I think there's a chance by tomorrow night they are postponed. I don't understand how Joe Biden and frankly Bernie Sanders should have said this today. I don't understand how they are urging people to go stand in a line and vote in Ohio, Florida, Illinois, Arizona. You literally have governors of Ohio and Illinois right now shutting down bars, shutting down restaurants, telling people not to be banning any public event with more than 50 people. Well, how are you banning public events with more than 50 people? Closing down restaurants and bars. The only things that are staying open are restaurants that you could get delivery from or pick up, but you can't actually go in and dine in a restaurant in Illinois and Ohio. That was just announced today. And also public events more than 50 people canceled. I'm pretty sure going to the polls has more than 50 people. By the way, just keeping it real, Florida has a lot of older people who are most at risk for this. And frankly, if we're being real, Joe Biden's base is older people. So I think Joe Biden didn't show leadership. I would have liked for Bernie to say, I think they should be postponed. Frankly, if he did say they should be postponed, we all know he would have been hammered for saying that because they would have spun it and said, well, Bernie wants them to be postponed because he's going to get crushed in Florida and these other states. Well, Bernie, they're going to crush you either way, so you might as well do the right thing. They should be postponed. Bernie should have also called out Joe Biden, who literally tweeted out today saying, democracy can't be put on hold. If you're not feeling symptomatic, if you're feeling no symptoms, you should go vote on Tuesday. Coronavirus, most of the people are asymptomatic who have it. You don't start feeling symptoms for the most part. It could take 4 or 5 days before you start feeling symptoms. So Joe Biden, Dr. Biden here, is literally urging people, because you don't feel symptoms, to go to the voting system. He could be literally he could be convincing a lot of people who are feeling fine, who have contracted but don't feel it yet, to go wait on a line and make other people sick. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.